Hey, if it ain't one thing, it's another. Like I was saying on the previous video, I came in here to make a video because I was spontaneous, and I'm like, been working in the garden and thinking, like, okay, I'm gonna share. First thing I thought was, okay, I gotta make sure to erase the previous videos so I don't run out of space on my Kindle because I don't have a computer. Can't really afford to get one, so I've been uploading from my Kindle, and my phone doesn't work. The iPad doesn't work. Being broke, whatever, humbling. So I guess this is totally. I guess I shouldn't have even called this really part two, but I guess I will. Um, Talking about archive.org and the things that are shared on there and some of these archetypes. And this guy was talking about he was reminding me about the allegory of the Southern Cross and how, okay, for those who don't know, the metaphor of Jesus being entombed for 3 days, then rising from the dead, is akin to the allegory or archetype. Yes, it's not an archetype, it's an allegory of the sun, which on December 22nd, it sits for 3 days. That's why the 21st is the solstice. So it sits for the 22nd, 23rd, and 24th for 3 days. Then on the 25th, it rises again, which is why we celebrate this 25th. And it rises, I guess, in the part of the sky where they call the Southern Cross, which is why the sun rises from the cross. And there's also, during the time when the sun is going down, it passes these other three, which are in the sky. There's a star formation that's considered the three kings. So, if you think about Jesus as a story and you start talking about an actual literal three kings bringing these, frankincense and myrrh, of course it's one of those things that's difficult to take literally, and if you can't see the symbolism, it's very difficult to, see why people can't take it for what it is. But anyway, I'm not saying that this whole interpretation is correct. I guess one of the reasons why I'm mentioning it is because I found it such a fascinating thing. He was talking about the four and the cross, and I started thinking about how four represents. What does four represent? I was thinking about matter, the word matter, and how it comes from mother, or I should say matter. Yeah, matter from mater, which is mother, in Old Latin and Greek. So I went back and looked at the etymology of the word, and I found that there was an argument or dispute over whether or not matter comes from mother. But it seems rather obvious that mother and matter are one and the same. Mother Earth, matter, the creation. Now the father is the interesting one. Father, which would be from, I believe, pater, or which is like paternity, but I believe that's from pattern. I believe pattern may be derived from father. So the father is the pattern or the creation, whereas the mother is the matter or the created. And all these old words go back to reminding me of just the simple numbers, 4, 3, 2, 1. In some of the older stories that go way back to ancient times, there's this old idea that it represents several things. This is one of the things that fascinates me. 4 is the number of matter, and that's what I wrote down here anyway. Not only is it the Southern Cross and the solstice, but it also represents the 4 directions, the 4 elements, and one of the occurrences was the 4 seasons, and how we divide many things into 4s and 12s. We also have septenaries, groups of 7, but 4 is a fascinating number because it represents a transition. In Hebrew, the name of God, which people pronounce Yahweh or whatnot, is Yad, He, Vau, He. The Vau is V-A-U, and the He is H-E. The second He is a different emphasis. It's basically supposed to be, I'm still learning these things, and it's been a while, but the second He is the number that starts it back into the cycle of 3 again, that everything is in cycles of 3. Now the fourth number being matter, which is the final creation before it returns back to source. Whereas number 3 is the number of spirit. Now, this would be because, or you could call it many things, understanding it's Father, Son, Holy Spirit. This whole connection of, spirit and matter, and the connection between us with, our existence. It's an interesting concept, but the Holy Trinity is nothing surprising. It doesn't even have to be related to Christianity or any belief system. It's just, something that's been well known in alchemy and other traits, where they just consider it, just kind of take it for granted. It is what it is. That trio, the Trinity. Sorry. But number 2, I started going down the list, and so number 2 to me is the number of creation. It's the number of 2, which would be the dualistic mother and father, or why does nature divide us into mother and father? Why do we have sexes? Well, so we can obviously reproduce and divide our genes among a wider pool, so we have a better chance of survival. But there's more to it, because everything in nature seems to have this dualism. I'm not going to get into the semantics of what dualism is, but 2 to me was the number of creation. A mother and a father who create the mother, the pater, the pattern and the creation. And of course, number 1 is the all. You can call it God, call it whatever you want. When people talk about God, it's funny, because when I've had several conversations with people where they say, hey man, I totally dig, what you're talking about, except for I just can't believe that there's something, I can't believe in something I can't see, or that hasn't been proven. All I can say about that is that neither can I. But there was a point when I had to ask myself, what exactly is proof? What is evidence? People deny evidence. People refuse to accept evidence all the time that's presented to them. But what constitutes evidence? Is it a scientist telling you, hey, we confirmed that this planet has this on it? Is that enough evidence? Or do we have to go to that planet, test the substance ourselves to make sure it's water? Of course, we each draw a line to what is considered evidence, but when it comes to our own hearts, we don't trust our own feelings sometimes over what we're told. Science is telling us that there's no greater pattern, there's no greater mind, there's no God. Meanwhile, in many of our hearts, we feel this strong understanding, just a connection, looking at plants, looking at nature, looking at our friends and family. And there are many scientists trying to tell us, well, that's just, those are just neural experiences that are created by our minds. Altruism is just something that's external, that's internal, that is genetic, that helps us to survive. And all these different things about how everything we do is just, a mutation just for survival. The question that's never answered for me is, what is survival, and what's the purpose of survival? Why does nature want to exist at all, and why does it perpetuate itself unless there's a blueprint being fulfilled? And it seems to be to me one of these really obvious things, that this is what God is. God is the unfolding pattern. God is the fucking plastic in my hand. God is this kratom extract. God is the battery in the vape pen. God is a tree. God is a snail. And these are just silly kind of nuances, just like things that people say sometimes, that God is everywhere. But once you really get it, you understand it. God is in everything, and the pattern is everywhere, and it's so obvious. From that point out, it becomes an issue of not proving anything. For me personally, I know that when I make videos, it's because I'm so animated about something I want to talk about in particular, but I'm not seeking any knowledge in particular. I'm not trying to find an answer, in other words. I'm seeking all the knowledge I can obtain, but I'm not trying to find a particular answer to any question. Except for one. What should I be doing with my time in my life? And I know that's internal as well. I have to understand that. In other words, the answer is already here. It's just that what I'm doing right now is different from what I'll be doing in a few years. It's like I was telling somebody today, when I was younger, I was very stubborn. I said, I'll never do this or never do that. And even recently, I remember questioning some things I said a couple years ago. I'll never believe this, or I'll never think that. Well, people do change. Times change. I'm willing to look at new ideas every day. I even go back and reread the Bible, or look into new religions or texts, or even Scientology. What are these people talking about? What is it that moves people? Because understanding people is understanding yourself. Understanding society is understanding yourself. And sharing the wisdom and the knowledge that you obtain is a very important thing, I think. I think all of us need to do more of it. I think all of us need to understand that you shouldn't be afraid to get in front of a camera. I mean, I'm looking at a lens right now, talking to air, you know, and when I first did this, I remember looking back and saying, you know, the first videos I did, I was, you know, I wanted to make sure that I got things right and then I didn't make mistakes. I would go back and I'd start a video over if it got interrupted by the kids or something. And, you know, you realize life is just freaking life. What was I trying to defend? It was a time for me to look at myself and say, why do I want to, you know, why do I even care? Well, because it's something that, you know, I want to keep my flow. I don't want to be interrupted. And when I ask myself, I don't even know why. Why did I start over? That's why I'm making part 2 here, because it just doesn't matter. And this video will probably be watched by, you know, 20 or 30 people, my subscribers. Most of them will probably watch half of it, and if that. And then it'll just go into the YouTube, like, land of bye, you know, like my first videos years ago. And that's okay, because that's what it's about. It's about fading into the woodwork. I guess some of the ideas that endure will stay, but the sad thing is that I don't sponsor my videos because I don't really want to get, you know, I don't care if people watch them or not. In other words, I don't go out and advertise my videos on sources because I'm not trying to get funding or money or anything like that. But the videos of mine that have the most views are the ones where I'm talking about stereo equipment or Kratom, I think. Kratom and stereos. I think the few videos I have on Kratom and stereos probably have more views than all my 3,000 or so videos that I have put together. Nobody wants to hear about philosophy. Nobody wants to hear about values and morals. But that's okay, because I'm still going to talk about it. There are a few people out there who care. Talk to y'all later.